So if there's one thing that I hear from security and engineering leadership, it's how badly that they need to train their teams on application security or secure code practices. And they're constantly looking for training to deal with new security threats, attack vectors, and the best remediation practices on essentially avoiding or mitigating these threats. But somehow the training that they always get into or the trainings that their teams go into always seems to fall short. Maybe you had these problems as well, wherein people come back saying that after taking a bunch of training courses and certifications, the team is not really doing so much better on fixing security issues. I'm Kishore from AppSecEngineer. I want to talk about some of the biggest problems in application security training and what you could do to essentially solve them. First off, a lot of security training is too focused on offensive stuff, on how to break or how to attack and break an application. They don't really talk about how to fix a vulnerable application, which is kind of the major problem that companies need to essentially solve. Breaking stuff is great, makes you feel awesome. It's always marketed that you'll feel like Tom Cruise. Not really, but that's the way that essentially is talked about. And at best, whenever they do talk about fixes, it's about best practices. Follow some guides that you can look at, which have generic suggestions and not really very relevant to your actual problem. So this is really a problem, because assuming that engineers will know how to implement stuff is again a wrong assumption, right? Security engineers are also of no help because they know how to find vulnerabilities, and they are the ones who primarily attend these attack-based programs or offensive security programs, but they're not really geared out to understand how to really fix an application because they're not developers, right? Now, developers in the meantime will build new features. They'll ensure the feature works, they'll ensure it's well tested, and they'll call it a day. That's it. Because even if they do get reports, even if they are receiving reports regularly from the security team, they don't really have the skills to fix these bugs. Now, on to the second problem. Most training that you will see, apart from being too offensive, which is essentially only limited to a certain group of people, most other security training tends to be too boring, very theoretical, and as I said, having a lot of vague best practice references, right? And a lot of these trainings are built to essentially satisfy compliance requirements. Now, let's be real, nobody likes compliance audits, neither the auditor and definitely not the auditee, right? So 60 to 70% of people who essentially get into these trainings are either just zoning out or are outright just skipping these classes. And even in the rare instance that they cover OWASP top 10 as part of the secure coding training, OWASP top 10 is just the starting point. It's definitely not the be all and end all of training, right? Apps today have a lot of moving parts. They are complex constructs. There are a lot of different aspects to the application deployment, cloud containers, and all of those things needs to be looked at outside of just secure coding. Third, security training also has a very, very myopic outlook, right? Now, obviously, all of this can't be achieved in a single crash course, right? Training needs to be done on a regular basis on a range of topics like threat modeling, cloud and cloud native security, security automations, secure coding, and DevSecops, right? This is an ugly truth that we all have to accept. Nothing can be achieved overnight. Nothing can be achieved over a quick series of courses. People will not become experts in security. And remember, to make the content engaging, it has to be replete with real world examples. Talk about real breaches that have happened and what is the likely defense for those breaches, or what defense was implemented there in order to essentially mitigate the risk, right? And let's not forget that this needs to be experienced by the entire product team in a hands-on settings, right? Bring in people from your development team, bring in people from your cloud team, bring in people from your DevOps team, and cover a range of subjects which is relevant to them. Allow participants to perform the attacks and then build a defense for it, right? Giving them an understanding and an appreciation of how an attack works and why a defense needs to be built for that attack, right? And that is one of the key problems of secure coding training or pure play secure coding training. It is too defensive oriented, right? All you're talking about is defense without any context of what the offense is or what the attack is, right? And realistically expecting the developers to essentially fix and address all topics, all aspects related to security is quite unrealistic. So bring in your entire team, because that is the only way that you can make real collaboration possible between these teams, right? Get them all onto the same page on security skills. That will in turn get them all onto the same page on security implementation. If you want to learn more about how to do all of this, there are links in the description. Check them out. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.